My phone holders. Well, it still works kind of. I'm very gentle about it, but I need to get a new one of these phone holders. Right?
Very particular.
Okay. So, get started here by lowering this down a little bit.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So I usually start by asking, how many of my typing sessions have you seen before?
Oh, a lot, dude. I've been like binging your content recently, so I've seen so much. I probably shouldn't have watched so much.
That's fine.
Okay.
As long as I know it's fine, I can factor it in. Okay, so I'm sure you'll be familiar with a lot of these lines of questioning, and you may have some thoughts about what I'm looking for and stuff, and that's fine. So I'll keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
First thing I'd like to ask you about is 5 years ago. Tell me about 5 years ago.
That was 2019, 5 years ago. Okay, well, I've been at my job for 5 years, so I can remember that 5 years ago I started my job. My grandmother passed away, so that was like a very eventful time for me. And but I don't remember like specifics.
Do you remember your first day of work at that new job?
No, I remember the interview, but I don't remember the first day.
Tell me what you remember about the interview.
I remember, I just remember being nervous generally, and I remember that my boss or the owner of the company does the interviews, and I remember him saying something about how the unions, he got out of the union because, he didn't like him. And I was like, yeah, and greed isn't good, and he said something along the lines of, well, greed is okay. So that sticks out to me, but I don't remember any other specifics aside from that comment.
I generally think I probably agree with them, but I don't.
Yeah,
I've
thought about it since then. So
I'm not pretty great. I don't think I self-identify or people would identify me as especially greedy, but I don't tend to think it's a bad thing in general. But regardless, that's irrelevant. So, can you tell me about your relationship with procrastination?
Oh, it's terrible. I'm a terrible procrastinator. I procrastinate. I just do things on the last day, like generally. I'll know and I'll think about it, right? I'll be like, okay, I need to do this. I need to do this. And then I just don't do it until the time comes and I need to do it.
Okay.
But I will get it done though.
Do you set any kind of reminder for yourself, or do you just remind yourself in your head?
I just remind myself in my head, generally.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll try to set reminders, but even setting the reminder, I'll procrastinate about that too. So
what kind of tasks are you most likely to procrastinate about?
What kind of tasks? Anything that's just tedious work generally. Like, I don't know, when I was in school, it was schoolwork. Now it'll be like filing my taxes. I'm probably going to I might not procrastinate on that because hopefully I'll get some money back. But like anything that's paperwork related or just clerical, I procrastinate on terribly.
Now, when you do start it, do you finish it quickly, or do you find it like struggle to stick with it?
It depends on the task. I think that generally, like if it was filing my taxes, for example, like I'll get it done. Like I'll finish it, no problem. It's not like a issue for me to figure out how to like mechanically do it, I suppose.
Okay. I've got some paperwork to fill out right now. I've been procrastinating about filling out. All right. So can you tell me how you feel physically right now? Any aches and pains, stiff neck, anything like that?
No. I feel nervous to do this, so like I can feel that a little bit, like physically, but as far as aches and pains, no, like I don't know, my hands are a little cold.
Can you describe for me the physical sensation of nervousness that you feel?
Yeah, it's like a fuzzy feeling in your chest, or for me at least, generally, and I do get like anxious a lot, so it's like a fuzzy feeling in my chest. Just kind of a general pressure and like weight on the body, I suppose.
Okay. Do you feel that your judgment of things that you come across in the world is more informed by your experience or your intuition?
I don't know. This is a question I've been asking myself a lot. I mean, okay, I would say my intuition. Like generally, I think that I'm more intuitive, but
Can you give me an example of you being informed by your experience about something, and also an example of you using your intuition?
Can I? Okay, so when I'm talking to people, I don't know if this would be intuition, but like when I'm speaking to people, I'm often like, it's a really bad habit that I'm like trying to finish their sentences or like react to what they're saying prior to them saying it. And I think it really fucking annoys people. As far as basing things on my experiences, I don't know. I can't come up with an example right now.
Okay, so like, let me give you an example of an example and see if that helps.
Okay.
So I might say that INFJs have a very poor sense of a relationship with their own body. And the reason I would say that is because it's very informed by my experience with Rachel as she went through some medical stuff, trying to get information from her about her body. So
Okay.
there's a general thing that I've extrapolated out of my singular experience.
Okay. And so since I've got into typology, my mom's an ISFJ, and I can kind of extract, but that's not an experience that I'm having because this is based on the information that I've gained since knowing her or since learning about typology. I don't know. This is hard for me.
Okay, interesting. All right, cool. Let's shift gears here. Can you tell me whether your own feelings inform you more about your boundaries or about what you want in life?
Definitely what I want in life. I mean, I do have ideas of boundaries in my head, but I don't enforce them. Or I've gotten better at it as I've gotten older, but generally I will defer to what someone else wants. But I do,
Okay.
but my feelings do, yeah, for sure.
What's an example of a boundary you think somebody might be prone to crossing?
Well, I don't know if boundary is the right word because if I don't inform you, then how can I like posit that boundary? But just like I don't know if I don't want to do something at all.
Somebody might talk you into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Certainly.
And all right, let me ask you. I'm going to tell you an invention of mine, and I would like you to tell me some possible names for it for the marketing department. Okay. And the invention is it's a pitcher that when it's empty and you put it upside down, the bottom of it is an ashtray.
The ashy splasher, the ash splash.
Okay.
The pour floor.
Okay.
The pitcher catcher.
Okay. I like that one.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So can you break down the task of buying a new pair of shoes into exactly 5 steps?
Well, okay, I'll get in my truck. I'll drive to the shoe store. I don't know what shoe store, whatever. And then I go try on shoes. I pick the pair I want, and then I buy them.
Excellent. Excellent work.
What's that?
That was excellent work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What do you think about the problem of pollution in our lakes and rivers? First, just tell me in general, what do you think of it as a problem? And then tell me some possible solutions.
Okay, as a problem, I think it's like, I think it's part of a bigger issue with humanity's connection to nature, generally speaking, like the cycle of just our abuse of how things should operate and how we just kind of ignore how things are or how things should be and just do our own thing. And so, the problem is going to lead, not just that problem, but the bigger problem, like, will probably lead to terrible outcomes, I would imagine. I'm not excited about it particularly, but I also have hope that we can change that, like, maybe, because humanity has overcome a lot of things. These are bigger problems we've ever faced, but
Okay, so what are some possible solutions?
Some possible solutions. I don't know, because to me, like, all the micro solutions of like just are just kind of like, okay, we can go clean these rivers, but that doesn't change the fact that we're polluting the rivers. So you have to stop if you're talking about like a feedback or a system, then you have to stop the input, or else it doesn't matter if you're like sweeping up some of the stuff. So solutions. Well, we need to stop putting trash in rivers, I think, would be my number one solution.
Okay. If I were to ask your friends who know you well, or anybody in your life who knows you well,
Yeah.
Is Jeffrey more quiet or more friendly? Those are your 2 adjectives to choose from. What do you think people who know you well would say?
The people who are close to me would say friendly for sure. Okay. But that's not my self-perception.
What about friendly or reliable? Other perception again.
Friendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about friendly or honest?
I think I think it could be a toss-up. They might not know that I'm being dishonest. I don't know.
Okay. What do you think the more important value for you to uphold yourself? Justice or mercy?
Mercy by far.
What about,
well, I shouldn't say by far, but mercy.
What about fairness or kindness?
I'd say kindness, probably.
Do you want others more to be fair to you or kind to you?
Well, it depends on it depends on the severity. Like, I'd rather you be kind. Well, I don't know. That's a really hard question. I don't know.
Would you rather somebody in your life be honest with you about everything and direct about everything, but sometimes not be very careful with their language, maybe accidentally hurt your feelings? Or would you rather they be a little bit less direct and honest, but more careful with your feelings?
Honest, for sure.
Okay. You think you can tell when somebody's being fake?
Yeah, I think generally, but it's hard for me to like pinpoint necessarily why I think that. But like, I can tell if somebody's being fake.
Okay. What about with? Do you think you can tell with YouTubers? Like, tell me if you, as you've watched probably variety of different YouTubers over the years.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the archetypes of YouTubers in your mind?
Well, I think that the archetypes of YouTubers, that's a cool question. So you have like the kind of bombastic, but maybe like maybe not so, you would say not so bright. Maybe that's just my impression, but just kind of like an entertainer, right? And then you have people like Asmongold, like video game streamers. I would say that they're more what would that be? Just like analytical, like monkish kind of, I would say. And then
let their played speak for itself.
Yeah, for sure. And I relate to that a lot more too, is whenever somebody like, because to me the kind of bombastic, like super, that seems fake to me. And maybe that's not fake. Maybe that's just my perception, right? Like maybe that's who they are, but to me it seems very fake whenever you're just so kind of like, if I can't have a discussion with you and you not get your feelings hurt, if I feel that I'm being nice, I don't know, that's kind of off topic. But and then there's also kind of this side of YouTube that my brother really likes. That's like people who build cool shit. I think that's kind of cool. You know, kind of a craftsman area. I don't know, but you could just, I could go forever and ever and list.
Do you ever build stuff?
I try to. I have before, but I'm really bad at it. I'm also I do electrical work, so like that made me a little bit better.
An electrician.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wish you lived near me. I have a broken light fixture.
The trouble is I try not to fix anything for anybody, so I don't have to be on the hook.
I also need to, at some point, I want to take out a couple of these ceiling fan fixtures and replace them with just regular light fixtures.
Yeah, it's not too hard.
Anyway. Okay, so do you play any video games?
Yeah, I do.
Which video games do you play?
I've been playing, well, I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 for a while, but I get really bored of like once I understand the system kind of, then I'm just like, I don't want to fucking play this anymore. So I was playing that. Recently been playing a game called Kenshi, and it's really, really fun. It's just like it's like a totally open world RPG where it's kind of post-apocalyptic and you run around and fight cannibals and stuff, but it's like the most open game I've ever played. And so I really am enjoying that one. City Skylines. I don't know. I'll play anything. I'll play like any game.
Okay.
A little bit.
Do you watch much like TV or YouTube that's just for pleasure, like like anime or action shows or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. I watch anime. I recently watched Mob Psycho 100. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I really liked that one. I really like the anime Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, that movie. And I really like like dating shows, like where they set people up. I think those are really fun. Married at First Sight, shit like that.
Married at First Sight or
oh yeah,
90 Day Fiance.
Oh yeah, I love 90 Day Fiance. I love like just I don't know, just watching these people interact is so much fun. But I also really like sci-fi too. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me about your sleeping habits?
They've actually gotten better recently. I try and go to bed before or at 10:30, and then I wake up at like 5:30 to 6. So whatever that is. Something like that.
Do you feel like it's important for you to get the requisite number of hours every night?
Yeah, I think so. I feel groggy if I don't.
Okay. And what about your eating habits?
They're so bad. It's so bad. I just eat I don't know. I grew up eating fast food, so I've just never ditched that habit before. I just like eat. The process of cooking, I hate it so much. So
Okay. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I just had coffee this morning.
How about what did you have for breakfast yesterday morning?
I just had I think I had just coffee too yesterday morning. I don't remember.
Okay. And then by the time you get to lunch, are you super starving?
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. And when you have a lunch break, do you eat lunch you brought from home, or do you eat at like a fast food place?
I go by every once, like, I do try and bring my lunch. Like, I'll make a big, like, I don't know, pot of chili or something and try and bring it. But then I just, after eating it like 3 times, I'm just like, I don't want to eat this anymore. And then I'll just go. So, yeah. So today I bought my lunch, and most of the time I buy my lunch.
Okay. What about if something breaks around the house, like a window gets stuck, broken doorknob? What happens?
Well, I fix it. Me and my ex still live together because we have a lease and we get along well. So we still live together. So she comes, and I'm pretty sure she's an ISFJ, but she comes and tells me something's broken. And I'm like, well, I'll look at it later. And then she'll come tell me again. And then I'll get up and I'll fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some TI questions.
Okay.
If all nuns are not sluts and I am a slut, is it necessarily the case that I am not a nun?
All nuns are not sluts.
Now, if all nuns are sluts and
sluts.
I'm not a slut, is it necessary? And I am a slut. I'm sorry.
No, it's not necessary.
If all nuns are not sluts and I am a slut, am I necessarily not a nun?
No, not necessarily. If all nuns,
I think I am.
If all nuns are not sluts. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. If only pyramids are pointy and I am a pyramid, am I necessarily pointy?
Yes, because only pyramids are pointy.
Okay. Well, the answer is no, because I'm a pyramid. Only pyramids are pointy, but not necessarily all pyramids are pointy.
I feel like I can't hear you. Okay. Let's keep
Okay.
going.
If some birds have feathers and if some birds have feathers and all things with feathers are German, is it necessarily the case that some birds are German?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try some missing generalizations. So I'll give you an example. The missing generalization will start with either all, only, or no. And an example is, I might say, you can't come in here. You're not a poet. The missing generalization is only poets can come in here, or all people who can come in here are poets, or no people who are not poets cannot come in here. Can come in here.
Okay.
All right. So let me give you the problem now. So that stuff must be wet. It has flour in it.
All things that have flour in it are wet.
Okay. Susie can't be from Iceland. She doesn't like iceberg lettuce.
Everyone from Iceland likes iceberg lettuce.
Okay. Nobody can solve that problem. It uses variables.
Nobody can solve problems with variables. Well, that's directly what you just said. All problems with variables are unsolvable.
Right. Good. Okay. Let me ask you a couple genealogy questions.
Okay.
Who is my dad's sister's husband's daughter in relation to me?
Cousin.
Okay. Who is my mother's father's wife's only granddaughter in relation to me? Two possible answers.
Sister?
Yeah, that's one possible answer.
What's the other?
Cousin. If the parents have two kids, right, and the other kid has a daughter. Okay, that's good. That's good. You did very well on those.
I did practice those a lot.
You practiced them a
Not
lot?
before,
Okay.
but just like watching along, you know. But I always did good. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you just a couple of these. Let me ask you one of these units questions. If there are 3 Bergensteins in a wallop
okay.
and 12 wallops in a
30.
bunion. Okay. All right.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, that's fine. Did you say 32? It's actually 36, isn't it?
No, I said 36.
Times.
I said 36.
Oh, you did.
Maybe I said 32, but I meant 36.
Okay, fine. It's not. Yeah, you just sounded like you said 36. Okay. So that's fine. Have you heard me ask the troll question before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Oh, you have watched a lot of content because I haven't talked about that in a while. It seems like.
Dude, I've been playing Kenshi, and it's just such a chill game that I've just been having. You're like trying to get a better grip on things, so just having your shit in the background.
Well, your TI is really good. Your TE's certainly not polar. Let me test your NE a little bit more.
Okay.
How many possible uses can you think of for a potato?
For a potato, well,
Yeah.
you could bake it. You could put it in a potato gun. I could hit somebody with it. I could use it as a brake stop for a car. I could make a Mr. Potato Man doll or like whatever. Not doll. I don't know what that is. I could smoke weed with it.
Yeah, you can. That's true.
What else could I do with it? I don't know. I might be able to carve it into like a cup and drink beer out of it.
Okay. Do you have creative endeavors? Like
No,
play music or? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wish I did, but I don't.
Okay.
I do. Hey, I do write in my journal occasionally. Like I try and journal, and it's more kind of like symbolic creative writing, but it's not like something I put out or anything.
Dear journal, I saw the cutest girl today.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't I get talk to her?
Okay, cool. So what made you decide to study electricity?
I was 18 and didn't know what else to do. I hate it. I really hate it. I just hate manual labor. Like I don't want to be doing that anymore. But I mean it's cool. It's not very interesting to me. I don't know. It was
difficult. Do you do it well?
So the like troubleshooting side of it, like going and I work a lot in industrial settings. So like doing that, like figuring out why a machine isn't working, that's cool to me and I'm really good at that. But whenever we go out and start like digging holes, I'm like a fucking bump on a log. Like I'm not good at the physical side of the job by any means.
Okay. Do you think it's because your arms aren't as strong as the other people's, or because you're just not as good at aiming shovels, or what?
I have really small T-Rex arms and I can't really hold like my arms. I can't hold a shovel. No, I don't know. I'm just lazy. I'm just a lazy person.
Okay, you're just lazy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do you want from life?
I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot recently. I don't know what I want. I want to live a good life and just I don't want to. I know that what I'm doing now, like working a 9 to 5 and doing this, like I don't want to do that at all. I want to just chill and you know, I want to do a lot of learning and I want to have good relationships. Work isn't very important to me. Like that aspect of life just isn't necessarily. I mean, I do want to do things, like I want to contribute to humanity in some capacity, but I don't want to live just like a standard 9 to 5 life, which I'm doing right now.
Do you want to eventually have a wife and kids?
Yeah, I think I would like to. I don't, because the thought of like getting older and having no one is terrifying to me.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying thought, huh?
Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood a little bit. How was it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't remember a lot of it, and my parents were both, you know, just not the greatest parents. I don't know, a lot of fighting, and they got divorced eventually, and like substance abuse issues. And I love them. I love them a lot, you know. And they're both like sober now and good parents, but it wasn't necessarily a great childhood, and I just don't remember a lot of it.
What's your relationship with your memories in general? Do you keep some kind of like ego spank bank of moments where there were high points in your life that you remember back and like, I killed it that in that moment?
I have, like, for example, I have a memory of like being, I don't know what age I was, but before or it was some summer during elementary school, and I'm like sitting on the couch and there's sun on my face, and I have memories like that are very, like, that I hold them with me, but they're not necessarily very specific.
Okay. Do you remember the last time you went on a vacation?
The last time I went on a vacation? Yeah, I went to New York.
Okay. What was your favorite moment from that trip?
My favorite moment, me and my ex got into a fight about this, because my favorite moment was like the last day when I left the hotel and I was walking around by myself and bought coffee, and I was just like, oh man, it's so cool to just walk around the city. Not that I didn't like the other parts of the vacation, like I enjoyed all of it, but for me, just that, like, that solitude, that moment was just like amazing to me.
What kind of chair are you sitting in? Is it like a comfortable chair? Did you purposely
Chair.
bring a comfortable chair over?
No,
It's a gamer chair?
yeah, well, but listen, I got this at Goodwill for $20, and it's a $120 chair, so it's pretty comfortable.
I see.
Yeah.
Did you think about like maybe pouring yourself a beverage before starting this?
Yeah, I brought a beer.
Oh, okay. Did you?
I didn't pour it; it's in a bottle.
Did you say to yourself, "Okay, do I need to go pee before this starts," or did you like check that kind of thing?
Nah, no, I didn't.
No? Okay. No. And did you pay any attention to what the background was going to be during this video conference?
No, I mean, I guess I thought about it like a little bit. Like, I'm like, okay, like a small part of me is always wanting to project a certain like aesthetic, or like, oh, I want people to think I'm cool. Like, honestly, so
it wasn't until you moved your head out of the way that I saw what was behind you at all.
Oh, I did. I wasn't. I didn't.
It was a great symmetrical background, you know.
I'll sit over here like this. No, I didn't think.
Did you make those? You didn't make those paintings or pictures?
No.
Did your ex make them?
Yeah, she does stuff like that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So she's arty, huh?
Yeah, but they're like prints that she printed out. I mean, she does a really good job of making them like cool, for sure. Yeah, she's a good decorator.
Okay, cool. So now that you're not in that relationship anymore, as you imagine yourself forward to your next relationship,
yeah,
what are your here's some no-go deal breakers that aren't like bad red flags, like she's toxic or shit, like, just
Yeah.
like personal preference things. And what are some things you're seeking?
I don't want to be with anybody who's controlling or too focused on, like, just somebody who's very focused on material gain and just shit like that, and like schedules, and we got to go here, do this, blah 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 blah. Well, not necessarily, like, I'm fine with I shouldn't have said schedules. Just like, if you're scheduling like us going and having fun, then I'm okay with that. But what am I seeking? I want, like, okay, if you're asking like what I'm seeking, I've thought about this a lot, and I think that I want somebody, like, if I was going to put it in typology terms, I like an FE dom for sure, because I just, like, I want somebody who can manage that realm of life pretty well.
Okay. With your friends or people who know you, do you think they think you're more extroverted than you are, or they think that you're more introverted than you are?
They think I'm more extroverted than I am, for sure. Well, but that's also my perception. So I don't, like, it's hard for me to know myself well, I guess.
What's your definition of truth?
I've thought about this one a lot too, and I still don't have a good answer. It's a hard question. I think that there is some form of truth. Like, if like, going back to the river question, if the pollution question, like, if we look at nature, we can see, or I think that I can see cycles, like rhythms, things that are supposed to be, like, things are meant to be a certain way, and that's a sort of truth to me. Like, if you can see the outcomes of that being negative, and that indicates that you're not following, or as a species, we're not following some proper path, I think. And that path has to be some sort of truth. But also, I think truth in the sense that people talk about it, generally speaking, like when I'm talking to a regular person and they're talking about, like, is this true or not? I think that's very just subjective. Like, I think that kind of thing is not, I don't care about that necessarily.
Do you think that animals will evolve to eat plastic?
It's certainly possible. It's possible that they evolve to eat plastic. I do think what I'm saying about things going bad is not the only outlook to have. Like reality could react so that what we're doing now actually just turns out okay, and maybe animals evolve and eat fucking plastic. I don't know. Maybe beavers use it to build their dams from now on. Sounds like a hellish world.
They're much more effective, and we have this epidemic of super fat beavers.
That'd be cool, though. It'd be fun. It'd be a fun world.
Okay. Can you tell me a story in which a plastics-fueled beaver does something heroic?
Yeah, there was a Bob the Builder Beaver was building a plastic dam, and then he noticed that all this plastic he's using to build this dam he realized that this plastic probably isn't very good for Earth. So Bob the Builder Beaver went off, and he's like, man, he starts talking to his other fat beaver buddies, and they come up with a plan. Their plan is they're gonna build a lab out of plastic, okay, and they're gonna genetically modify. They're gonna genetically modify all the leeches to eat plastic, okay. This is not a good story.
It's a fine story. What about beavers who live too far north for there to be leeches in the water?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll capture humans in plastic cages. Well, of course they're going to use the humans because we're the ones who brought the fucking plastic. So they're going to catch us, and then they're going to genetically modify us into
and force us to eat plastic.
Force us to eat plastic. We're going to be big armless blobs with giant mouths digesting plastic at landfills, and pretty soon the beavers are going to be running shit.
You people are going to eat all the plastic until there's none left.
And then maybe they'll give us our arms back. Maybe.
All right, well, that's a happy ending, I guess.
Yeah.
Karma. What do you think about cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency? I don't know. I think all the opinions about it are either true or false. Like the people who think that crypto could be this or that could be right, or they could be wrong. And I think the people who say, like, it's funny, the people who say shit like, oh, economics is just astrology for men. I think that, like, that's a silly thing to say, but upon further review, there is some truth to that statement, that like all these systems are just made up by humans. Not that it has the same implication that they say it has, but there is.
I like the quote better if it's finance. Finance is just astrology for man. Like, dealing in stocks and bonds and reading all these cues and assuming like people are going to respond to these cues in this way, and therefore it's going to do this.
Well, and it works because of course it's going to work because it's continued to work, but one day it's not going to work, and then your whole system is falsified, and then I don't know. But but if I can get rich, then I'll invest in crypto. Like, I'm not ideologically opposed to it. I think it can be silly. Like the people who put all of their thought into it I think it's silly.
Okay. So I'm gonna follow along with the news for a second.
Okay. I'm taking off.
I'm leaning one direction, but I want to see where I need to test a little bit more.
Okay. I gotta pee real quick, actually.
All right, you pee. That's good.
Okay.
Give me a chance to think.
Okay.
He's going to pee right now. I think. Well, I'll tell you where I'm leaning. Since he's not listening, I'll whisper it to you. Okay. Maybe he is listening. I don't know. I'm leaning INTP. I think he believes himself to be an INTP, and I think he's right. But I could be wrong. How the phone company has fixed our internet already?
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. What do you think of the idea of there being a single path that you should follow in your life?
I think it's possible, but I think it's possible, but like in practice, I don't think I'd like there to be a single path I can follow in life. I don't know.
What would make you be more upset at yourself if you, like, say, fix something successfully, but a client still wasn't happy, or if you thought you saw that this was a singular course, but you were wrong and failed to anticipate a possibility?
If I was more upset at myself, so the first option was if I picked something and they were unhappy with it, I'd be upset with myself for picking something they were unhappy with.
No, you fixed something, but successfully, but you did it in a way like maybe it didn't look the way they wanted to look afterwards, and they're unsatisfied with the result accordingly.
I think I'd be more unhappy if I picked the wrong path, because I like, if I liked it, I would be like, okay, I don't like that, sucks, but I think it looks good.
Okay. Um,
But I also am not leaning very far in that direction. Like that's a toss up for me, kind of.
okay. So, can you think of an example of some time when you were very mad at yourself about something that's not like a huge big deal or whatever, but that nevertheless made you mad about yourself? Mad at yourself. What kind of thing would it be?
Hmm. I get mad at myself. I'd be mad at myself if I like hurt somebody close to me, I think. If like
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Um, uh, what do you think would you think that what would make you most mad at yourself is the same thing that would make you most defensive?
Hurting somebody's feelings?
Yeah, like with that, if would you like concede or would you get defensive if somebody said, "Hey, that hurt my feelings"?
So in the past I would not concede. I would be um like say I'm in a relationship and somebody's like or the girl I'm with is like, you hurt my feelings because you did this. Say I went out to a bar without her and like that hurt her feelings. I'd be like, well, you need to like I don't understand why your feelings are hurt because I didn't do anything wrong, you know? And so I would have that argument where I'm like, I didn't do anything. I just went to a bar. Like, what's wrong with that? I didn't do anything. And in this last relationship, I realized that sometimes people's feelings are hurt, regardless of like if it's necessarily justified in my head. And I
Right.
think, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So what kind of do you listen to music?
Yeah.
When you listen to music, do you listen to like the same music over and over again, or do you like to find a lot of new stuff?
Do people ever answer no, they don't listen to music?
Some people occasionally.
Really? That's crazy. I was listening to music today and thinking about this. So I think I mostly listen to things over and over again. Like I have the same, but I also do want to find new music. Like I'll go through like Spotify and shuffle random playlists. But more often than not, like I've been listening to the same album like over and over and over again for the past 2 months, mixed in with other stuff.
Okay. Uh, you are a little bit tricky given that you've listened to a lot of typing sessions and
Yeah.
potentially practice a lot of there's a for intentionally or otherwise kind of practice the TI questions, maybe the TE question, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna discount that as a significant factor here because in order to basically attend to that at that level of attention where you even if you did pick up the way it works,
Yeah.
um, it's still indicative of the same sort of thing. So I am struggling a bit to as I would normally to to differentiate between the two types of NTP. I think you're one of the two types of NTP,
Yeah.
and I'm leaning towards INTP,
Okay.
but that's a tough one for me to tell apart.
I've I'm the same. That's the same. It's tough for me to tell apart too.
So
Well,
is that what you thought coming in?
yeah, and I also thought maybe INFJ, but T's, I just think I'm too Like I built a fucking table last year. I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah. Also, your TI is a little robust for third.
Yeah.
Also, your NE is too robust for fifth.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that was
I think
kind of
we
like
can
what I was.
eliminate. We can eliminate INFJ. A lot of your sort of affect and answers might be consistent with an INFJ if I were paying more attention to that. Like you just seem F careful, you know, in your answers, but I don't think you're maybe even as F careful as I am in your life. So
Yeah. Well, that's what I've kind of thought is okay. Because whenever I was a kid, I or still now, like I have a lot of social anxiety, and so I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like the development of cognitive functions. If you have TI first, then necessarily, since TI and FE are on an axis, are you going to develop FE prior to auxiliary, or is that just not how it works?
no, that's not how it works.
Okay.
FE will always be a deficit. It's usually a self-aware deficit in the fourth slot. Like you're going to be a little self-deprecating about it. Like I'm not good at that. It may be important, but it's not important to me, so I don't really feel bad about not being good at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fourth slot approach to FE.
Okay.
And your answers for FI stuff, I think, are a little more consistent with eighth slot than they are seventh.
I felt the same way.
It's hard for me to tell the difference, but yeah, I always, anytime I type an NTP, I kind of qualify the answer. I can't say for sure. I can't make a winning case if you aren't an ENTP.
Well, how do you interact with SE? What is it? Can you describe what it feels like to use SE? Because I've been trying to understand this.
Well, it's super unconscious for me because it's you might say that I have a lot of SE going on because I upload a lot of videos. I make a lot of live streams. I do a lot of things, right?
I don't.
But it's not a conscious thing for me, really. I never really know what happened between me sitting and me starting to live stream, for example.
Yeah.
It just sort of happens.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I'm a little bit more aware of I must be more SE on point when I'm driving because I notice animals and stuff by the side of the road. My eyes are always looking around. I notice everything, you know.
When I drive, I'm like, I get to my destination and then I'm like, okay, how did I get here?
Okay. I think that maybe sounds a little bit more polar, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm lost in my head, but usually when I'm driving, I'm kind of double acting, you know, SE and NE. That's more to me like you're polar acting probably in your head with tool function NE.
Okay. Yeah. How did you, whenever you started to get into all this stuff, how did you differentiate yourself as an ENTP?
I mean, when I first encountered MBTI, I just read all the type descriptions and it just hit me like a ton of bricks that I'm an ENTP.
Oh,
and then and I took a test or whatever, but I could just tell from the type descriptions.
Yeah.
And then I years later, I started learning about cognitive functions. And I mean, at no point since the first time I encountered MBTI, which was late for me, it was like in my 30s when I first encountered just MBTI. At that time on the internet, there wasn't any cognitive function stuff. It was just the 16 types and the type descriptions and an MBTI test, you know, that I could find anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I found out about cognitive functions, I just reinforced what I had intuited before. It's like once I learned about cognitive functions, I could have potentially said, "Oh, actually, I'm an INTJ," but it never happened for a second. Everything I learned just confirmed for me that I was an ENTP. I never doubted it for a second.
Yeah. The thing that really throws me off about it is that people say that they feel that I'm extroverted, and to me, my brother, one of my brothers is, I'm 95% sure he's an INTP, and he is so much more like he's an introvert. Like he just is by himself. And whenever we talk, like we're talking about Baldur's Gate, and he's spitting me stats and like builds that I need to do, and I don't think about things that way. Like I don't think about things in terms of.
He might be an INTJ or something.
Okay, yeah.
INTJs are a lot more quiet than INTPs because they don't have the facility with words that comes with any tool.
Okay. That's totally possible too, because we were talking one day about video games, and he's like, well, I just have to, like, I don't want to die one time in a video game. If I die in a video game, I'm mad at myself. I don't know. That's besides the point. But yeah, and people say that they think I'm extroverted. They're like, Logan, you talk all the time.
Well, look, here's the other thing is that it's more consistent across the board. What I've gotten from you is much more consistent with 6th slot NI than 5th slot, which is to say you're going to be more waffly about this sort of thing and a lot of sort of things because that's any tool. You know, you can always come up with more possibilities that might provide a different shade of light onto the thing.
Sure.
I'm NI 5th. I think the absolute value and the purpose is to be as definitive as possible on the question. But
Sure.
INTPs consistently at the end of their sessions sort of go back to, but here are some possible conflicting points that might inform this. You know?
Well, I'm just gonna have to accept it, because at some point I can't continue dwelling on like this has been absorbing so much of my mental energy of just like the past 6 months of just constantly thinking about this. It's just, you know, I mean, it's fun.
I'm convinced you're an INTP, but the thing is, the difference between the types, they require you to just say like, okay, I accept that there's some intuitive leap here. It's not just it's not cut and dry TI like reducible, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you know what, whenever I first took the test 6 months ago or whatever I said, you know, I wasn't doing great, and I originally typed as INFP, and which that's ridiculous, but like I was reading the type, just, you know, you see the description, it's like, yeah, I'm a good person, I care about things. So it's like, which I don't know if I had FI blind spot or FI 7th, if I could even conceive of myself as an INFP.
I mean, I can't really conceive of myself as an INFP.
Well, yeah, and also I didn't know anything yet, so that.
Right, they're very deliberative. They're even, I'd say, even more deliberative than INTPs. I think INFPs are the most deliberative type. Well, maybe not. I don't know. With PE front stack, it's a toss-up whose SE polar is more crippling, INTPs or INFPs.
Oh, well, I've had one of my best friends is, again, I don't know, but I think an INFP, and he, like, we go to like hardcore punk shows, or not anymore, I'm too fucking old for that, but like we used to, and I would go out there and like get in the, like, go have fun up front, and he will not do it. He will not engage with that, like, that realm at all, but I'll do it. Like, I'll go in a mosh pit, whatever, which I don't know.
Suggestive of a FI-FE difference, you know.
Okay, I got you. But your relationship, like, what is your relationship with INFPs like as an ENTP?
They're very supervisor type.
Oh, okay.
I kind of operate under the assumption that they know what they're doing, you know, and I rarely, if ever, like, cross swords with them.
Yeah, because they have any second slot and FI. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what would mine would be?
Your supervisor would be
ESTP.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yes, ESTP supervisor.
Huh.
Because they've got your tool. They got your dominant as their tool, and your polar as their dominant. That makes them a supervisor.
Whenever I see, in thinking about people who I think are ESTPs, I don't like that, like that forcefulness.
Well, people tend to not be drawn to a lot of supervision, you know?
Yeah.
Like, probably there aren't a lot of ISTPs around my channel
Yeah.
because they'll feel supervised by me.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, but okay, I've seen this. They say that what is the relationship between an ESTJ and an INTP, generally speaking? And how relevant do you think that these descriptors of relationships between types are? Like, do you think that they matter? Is it
Yeah, well, I think the intertype relations is probably the best thing in socionics.
really?
Yeah, because at least when dealing with the intertype relations, you're dealing with a a um, a truncated dynamic system, right? You're able to talk about how these two types are likely to interact with each other, and
Yeah.
you can rely mostly on intuition and description to do that. It doesn't need to be deduced from some general principles.
Yeah.
And
That
so I
makes
think a lot of the intertype descriptions are quite good, or at least that a lot of things in them ring true. But there is this kind of unfortunate reality that it's necessarily structured as everything deviating in various ways from an ideal that's expressed as dual.
yeah. How do you think that how do you think that what do you think what's that guy's name? The dude who does the brain imaging stuff.
Dario Nardi.
Yeah, what do you think about all that?
I think it's Dario Tardi.
You say Dario Tardi?
Yeah. Because he only has like one part of the thing pinned down, right?
Okay.
And so he can't really definitively say anything about what his data links to because he's got no other side of it. He's got no reliable human testing thing to compare to check to see if the types are right. He could potentially see groupings of patterns, maybe infer from the frequency of them which ones represent which types, and get like that or something, and try to work that way and figure out which brain pattern actually represents which thing in a meaningful way. I don't think he's doing any of that work.
Yeah. But you the frequency, yeah, he could. You say, okay, if we're talking about this subtype INFJ, then we have this many, whatever. But how can you? But you can't consistently type anyone. This is what I wonder about the socionics research. Like when you see the type descriptions, it's like how did they determine these people's types? These researchers.
Right. In other words, they're asking you to trust that they've done the typings themselves correctly, or that they've been typed correctly somehow before you can trust their type description. So I agree with you that that's a problem. If I were to write type descriptions, you're pointing that out would actually prompt me to say at the top of it, my type descriptions are predicated on kind of specific typings using this protocol consistently, that yada yada, so that people could say, okay, well, he's not just pulling shit out of his ass or intuiting stuff or whatever. Different people value more highly experience as a way of evaluating somebody's legitimacy.
Yeah, but I hate that so much. It's like sports and statistics, like talking to somebody who's like, well, no, just got to do the eye test. I'm like, man, I could create the best NFL team ever just based on statistics. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but like experience to me doesn't seem to be. I mean, I guess I take my experience into account for sure.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, with something like typology, if I were to write type descriptions, if I weren't referencing large body of experiential data that
Mhm.
informs both the reader how I'm gathering this information. Or I could even like precede each one with like not with additionally with like also, you know, I've known these people in real life who were in whatever, you know.
Just gonna list all their names.
But people may or may not think that that's valuable, right? Like because people who are SI in certain slots tend to think their intuition informs them about everything beyond what anybody extrapolating from their experience could possibly know.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think is the hardest type for you to identify?
Well, I would say ES ESTPs are tricky for
Really?
me. Yeah, because their any is weird. It's like it's good, but it's not quite that good. And then it's hard to tell whether they're SI or NI because it's 4-5.
Yeah.
And because their SI is not conscious, they can sometimes slip on some of the TI questions that require more memory, which can maybe mislead me into thinking they're not TI tool if I don't test it enough, you know? Also, I don't have any tests for SI, and I don't have a good test for FI polar. So ESTP is probably the trickiest one.
Yeah, and ESTPs can be a little weird too. Like just generally their vibe can be like, well, at least the people that I think are ESTPs, I'm like, you're like they can seem intuitive at times just in kind of their like
For
dress
sure.
stuff, you know?
And they can be quite talkative too, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And smart. I mean, it's very smart.
Yeah,
I
very
don't know.
smart.
Yeah.
My daughter's in ESTP, you know?
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Cool.
So obviously I love ESTPs just fine. I have I'm gonna let my personal bias shine
Yep.
through here.
I promise you, I love ESTPs.
So I'm saying like because in most instances, not that I don't let personal bias influence very much, but when my own daughter is a type, I'm going to go ahead and embrace personal bias.
Well, it's okay to embrace personal bias occasionally.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so
I'm happy with INTP. I mean, I'm gonna accept it. I'm just gonna accept it.
all right, great, cool. So I'm going to stop the recording.
All right.
Are you comfortable with me publishing, or would you prefer I share it with you privately?
You can publish it. That's fine. I don't mind.
All right, cool. So I
Okay.
will get that uploaded pretty soon, depending on if the internet people fucking finally did my upgrade in speed like they're supposed to. But that depends on exactly when I'll get it uploaded. But
Okay.
I'll get it uploaded tonight or tomorrow morning or something like that.
Sweet. Thank you, Eric.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.